Well, I think healthcare PR, it's a lot of the same elements as you'll get in other types of public relations. But I think with healthcare, you really have to keep in mind the patient confidentiality aspect, which has really been a challenge for me being fairly new in the healthcare PR world, is remembering the patient privacy and just keeping in mind that whenever you're going to do anything, you've got to get that approval up front and get those waivers signed from your patients. I would say the other challenge of healthcare PR that's been a little different than some of the other types of PR is the acronyms and a lot of the terminology that you have to learn. And I know when I started, it was a little bit difficult to get my arms around what all of those different terms meant. I think a lot of fields have their own, but in the medical profession especially, there are a lot of those kinds of medical jargon and things that you have to learn. So you just have to be patient and spend a little time learning it, and it all works out. I think PR has changed since I graduated from Michigan State in '95. I think the biggest change has been social media. That's kind of the obvious answer, and really the advent of the internet as well. I was going to tell the students tonight that when I graduated, the internet was just coming into being. And so just having those tools at our disposal, but also something to always keep track of, that's been a big challenge. But I think social media is still something that a lot of professionals are trying to get their arms around, and that has changed dramatically. That's changed our profession dramatically. And really for the better, because I think there are a lot of opportunities in that realm. Social media, I think it's important to remember that social media is a tool in the toolbox. It's not the only tool. So I think when you're doing your communications planning, you need to think about your audience, who you're trying to reach, and what is the most effective way to reach that audience. In healthcare and at Henry Ford, not all of our employees or our constituents may be on the computer a whole lot. So we have to think a little creatively as to how we're going to reach people. So I guess I would encourage students to, learn social media and certainly figure out how it works, but also understand that different audiences require different communications methods, and you just need to keep that all in the mix when you're planning. And I will say that, especially when you're trying to communicate something that's a little more sensitive, sometimes there's that interpersonal factor that just picking up the phone or sitting down and having coffee with someone, you can't beat that sometimes. So try not to use social media as the end-all be-all for everything. I think even though, in some cases writing is shorter, I think you still need to be an excellent writer. That's at the top of our list of what we look for. Writing is essential, whether it's short, long, more editorial style or more news style. Writing is still at the core of what we do, so that's very important. I think someone who's flexible in terms of being able to juggle a lot of different assignments, be working on a project and then have to drop what you're doing and work on a crisis situation. I think we also look for people that are, that have a sense of humor, that don't take themselves too seriously, that can kind of go with the flow a little bit. And then I would say that relationship building in what we do is so important, whether it's internal to the organization or external. Building those relationships inside your organization and with your community members and the media is still at the very core of what we do. Yes, I was a member of PRSSA here at Michigan State, I want to say 2, maybe 3 years, and then I was the president my senior year. And I would say, for me at the time, we didn't have a public relations major, so being a part of PRSSA was really my gateway into the PR world from the outside perspective. And so being involved in PRSSA really helped me understand the basics, introduced me to the professionals in the Lansing area, and it was really the essential thing that I did at Michigan State that kind of was my foray into the public relations career. Well, I tell a lot of our younger professionals this, even at Henry Ford. I think being involved in PRSA is kind of your career insurance. We all like to think that we're going to be employed forever and you're going to stay at your company forever, but you never know what will happen in these tough times, and it has been my PRSA involvement and my network of fellow professionals that's really gotten me through some tougher times. So I would tell all young students or new professionals to keep your involvement in PRSA. It will benefit you for your network, when you need to go to people for advice, but it'll also be, have a lot of job opportunity options for you. and I will say also just the professional development that you get within PRSA. I would say to all students graduating in public relations or communications fields that it's still just the central most important thing that you can get to get a job is to do your internships. Try to get at least an internship or two under your belt before you graduate, and if you can't do it before you graduate, after you graduate, because experience is still at the center of what we look for when we're hiring. Your grade point doesn't matter as much as what you've done to develop your skills in your writing portfolio. I would just like to add to the students that public relations is an exciting, dynamic field. I think I've seen it grow in importance since I've graduated. I had many people try to tell me that don't go into PR, you'll never get a job, it's really difficult, and I have never regretted it, and I will say that if it's really in your heart and it's something that you really feel like you're good at and you have passion for, go for it, and just don't let people talk you out of doing what you really want to do.
We have more PR tips on video at youtube.com/MSU PRSSA.